Hello, family, and welcome to Everything Bass. We're moving on with the Unlimited Musician series, and I have probably one of the most popular exercises I ever came up with students, and one of the most enjoyable. It is so much fun, and it's basically a form of musical charades. Now, let me give you a little background in this and how it'll help you. Because remember, the Unlimited Musician series is not just about overcoming creative obstacles. It's about improving your musical expression. Which means to say, if you're playing a sad song, or you can read the lyrics, you understand the concept of the song, it's very sad. Can you create on your instrument something that supports and expresses that? If you're in a studio and you record all your tracks, whatever instrument you might be, and we pull down all the other faders so we only hear your instrument, would we still hear that musical idea expressed through your playing? And that's tricky. It takes practice. I should say, some people are just born with it. Some musicians amazingly can just convey a thought with very little effort, very little practice. But others, we have to just express. We have to get used to it. We have to find ways to say things, just like learning a new language. Because remember, music started out as a form of communication, to be able to talk over great distances, to be able to commute to a large amount of people. Like in military operations, they'd use drum and five chord in early days to be able to express, hey, do this, do this. A lot of cultures use music to remember a historical event, something important. They'd write songs about it. They'd create dances about it. It was a way to express. At one point, someone learned you could make money with music, and all of a sudden people that weren't musicians were calling the shots, and they're saying, oh, you can't do that because that's not trendy right now. And I think the shift has gone from expression to commerce. And not to say you can't have both. In fact, I think when musicians and singers get really, really excellent at expression and about conveying what they're feeling to an audience, and that audience gets it, commercially they'll have great success, usually. So, what is musical charades? I came up with it at Musicians Institute. I used to teach an open counseling, which is basically a group lesson that is open format. I could talk about anything. And I started developing these ideas, and I would try them with my students. And musical charades was a fun game. So initially what we do is I'd have everyone in the audience turn their chairs around. It was in a classroom. Turn their chairs around so they couldn't see the stage. Every classroom Musicians Institute has a small stage, drums, keyboards, amps and everything. Then I would call up a musician, anyone. They could be bass players, we had guitar players, singers came in, whatever it be. Now, if it was singers, I wouldn't let them use words. I would just have them use pitches and expression and angst and things, because words is too simple to convey something. You can just tell them what you're doing. But can you do it just non-verbally, but with your voice? And so I would bring someone up on stage. The reason I had the audience turn around is I didn't want their eyes to give them an idea, because sometimes we as musicians can change our physical expression and move in a way that might give it away. So they would be facing away. I'd have a bunch of cards. Now, initially when I started this, I gave very broad stroke emotions, anger, love, peace, sadness, things like that. And I would just shuffle through and I'd show the musician what it was, and then so the two of us would know. And then I'd give them 2-3 minutes just to improvise and try to get across that idea. After they were done, I'd have the audience turn back around and I'd say, what do you think this person was playing? What were they describing? Why this was so important is I can't say, oh, you did that well, you did that not well. It has to be the audience that says. So we'd go through, and let's say the person was playing sadness, and I'd say, what do you think the first word is? And or the person was playing, and they might say, oh, melancholy. Want to say depression, something like that. Even though they might not use the word sadness exactly, we can understand that, yeah, you conveyed that well enough. Now, there's problems when the person's playing sadness, and the audience comes back and says, I don't know, joy, happiness, seeing someone after, being gone for a long time, something like that. So then the musician themselves would know, ooh, I was successful, or, oh, I wonder why I wasn't. And I would encourage them at the time. We didn't have the ability to record videos on phones because I'm old. But I would encourage them. Most students had little mini recorders. They record your own performance, go home and listen. If you hit the mark, if everyone pretty much got what you were saying, listen and try to figure out why. If you miss the mark, same thing. Listen, why did you miss the mark? This was fun, and it created lots of laughter. I will tell you one event that was my favorite of all time. One of the years when I was teaching, I had a bass player who was a really great student, super cool guy. I want to say he was from Michigan, but he was into punk rock and was a great player. But just he liked to express punk rock. So I got him up there, and I was excited to see what it is because he always plays with such passion. You know, I see him in P100 during rock performances. I'm like, man, this guy's got so much passion. And I showed him the card, and I'm thinking, oh, this will be interesting. I want to see what he says. And so he's playing, and he gave me kind of a devilish, like, oh, okay, I gotcha. And then he started playing so violently. I mean, grabbing strings, you know, pulling them away, hitting this bass, playing these really dissonant lines, and then you bring it down, and then you get back, and it's like, and I'm looking at the card saying, did I show him this card? And he was into it. He broke a sweat. He was that into it. So at the end, I turned students around, and I'm like, okay, what do you think he played? And first person said, oh, definitely anger. And I'm like, okay. And the next person said, was it like murder or rage or something like that? I'm like, okay, keep going. And everything was the same thing. It was like he conveyed something violent and horrible. And he's just grinning because what the card was, and when I turned it to the audience, I said, the card was making love. Everyone shuddered in the audience. It was so much fun to see. And he just was like, that's right. So anyway, it was fun. But let's get back to the reality of what it is if you start with really broad strokes, like big emotions, easy, broad painted type of thing, something that should be easy to convey. As you get better at it, you and your group, whoever you decide to do this with, can get to more specifics. We got to very close, really dial into small things. And they don't have to be emotions. They can be an event. One of my favorites was I would ask guys to describe a holiday. You know, if I said, you know, if it was like Halloween, what was their experience of Halloween? And then they would play, and you'd be amazed. And sometimes I wouldn't even say, it's a holiday or something, because that would probably be too easy. But they would come back, and and the audience would come back and say, ooh, something spooky and stuff like that. Well, great, that was successful. Now, in the modern days, this is so much easier. And honestly, folks, it's a great way to combat loneliness and separation. If you live in a community that's going back into lockdown or whatnot, or you're just uncomfortable being out in public, but you miss getting together with a group of musicians, Zoom, any of these great formats online, Teams that you can use, even FaceTime, that you can use to be able to get a group of people, and you can do it just one-on-one, and it's a lot of fun. If it's one-on-one, you're pretty much coming up with your own. You're thinking, okay, I'm going to come up with this, and then play, and the other person. Now, what you can do is, on some of these software programs, you can turn your camera off, and I would recommend it. Just turn your camera off, do your thing, turn it back on, ask them what they thought it was. Don't go on too long. That makes the game kind of boring. And with a group, that's great. If it is a group, then what you do is you pick someone to start by giving a clue, and you pick someone to start as a musician, and just text them if you have the capability. Or on some of the software programs, you can chat them individually and just say, I want you to play this. So no one else sees it. Everyone you turn off your camera, you play, come back, get a consensus. This is not to replace your regular practice routine. No, that'd be ridiculous. Still practice, all your music theory, your playing techniques, styles, improvisation, all that stuff. But as an additive, it makes the instrument fun. And I promise you, if you give it a chance more than just one time, you will learn better ways to convey an idea or an emotion from your instrument. And by the way, I love drummers and singers with this. Drummers, I just love what the drummer will sit and go, okay, all right, okay, I can come up with this. And it forces them out of maybe their normal comfort zone of creating grooves and into some beautiful new rhythms, beautiful new riffs and things that they can come up with that just go into their bag. Same with singers. Singers crush me sometimes when it's something really sad. They're not using words and they're just using their instrument and expression and things like that. Oh my gosh, it's so powerful and so good. So in the very least, it's a lot of fun. So if you guys have a regular gathering of musicians, you can do it in person if you can do so safely. But think about doing it online. It's a lot of fun and it's wonderful, and you guys will laugh so hard, I promise you. So anyway, there it is. This installment of Unlimited Musician, Musical Charades. It's a great way to develop your expression. And I really appreciate you all staying with me on this. I've created a playlist of all the Unlimited musicians. So if this is the first one you're seeing, you should be able to go back and check them all out. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. Please like, share, subscribe, do all the things that would be wonderful to help support this channel and let it grow. I really appreciate you, and I'll see you at the next video.